Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Cole, Professor Emeritus Agriculture Economics and Academic Hall of Famer from Virginia Tech, Blacksburg, Virginia. Today we're going to discuss Beyond the Harvest, preparing for 2026. Your business, your life. The days are getting shorter and many are wrapping up harvest and preparing for the unpredictable elements of old man winter in the home stretch of 2025. Top of mind for many who are in the planning stages is what lies ahead for 2026. Will the economic uncertainty persist? How does one prepare the business and, more importantly, prepare oneself to navigate the twists and turns as we embark on the second quarter of the 21st century? The new normal. The question above deserves an honest answer, even if those answers are complex. When we consider the phrase the new normal, some key words to define it would be geopolitical and regional military tensions, deglobalization, tariffs, sanctions, trade disruptions, and accelerated consumer and societal changes. Expect tariffs and trade sanctions not to abate, but possibly accelerate. The agriculture industry will be at the center of pivotal negotiations. This is critical for an industry where $1 in $5 of net farm income is generated by exports. Inflated costs in farm inputs, specifically fertilizer and chemicals, along with spot shortages of equipment and technology components, can be expected. Overall, markets will be in disarray as rumors, tweets, and regional and border conflicts continue to impact profits and cash flows. Let's specifically move to the grain and row crop challenge. Those in the grain and row crops, and to some extent specialty crops, are being impacted long-term by more than tariffs and the value of the dollar. Since 2013, China has strategically invested over $1.3 trillion in agricultural centers, particularly in the global south. The strategic collaboration of the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, with over 40 other countries in diversification of the food, fiber, and fuel sources, is now in full force during the down cycle of commodities that grow in the United States. The combination of lower prices with inflated input and capital investment costs is resulting in what the industry veterans call the 2 and 10-year rule. Simply put, over a decade, one involved in grain, row crop, and specialty crops can expect 2 very profitable years and 8 years where break-even will be the aspiration, often supplemented by government payments. The wild card is weather and production belts both in the northern and southern hemisphere and trade relations with Mexico, Canada, and China. Animal agriculture outlook. The animal agricultural sector in 2026 is more positive with guarded optimism. This sector offers more stability in part because of diversified demand streams and growing consumer interest in protein-rich diets. Producers' business models that have diversified revenue sources with 3 to 6 streams, including both farm and non-farm businesses, are more likely to generate a positive bottom line. Expect the dairy industry to continue to consolidate with profits hinged on export, specifically to Mexico and possibly China. A positive for the industry is the increased consumption of dairy products as consumers aspire to include more protein in their diets. The dairy and beef industry should remain positive despite recent administrative actions which have taken some of the profits off the table. Expect poultry and pork production to be substituted for beef, particularly if households and individuals face financial stresses and lower incomes. Now let's move to interest rates. A common question asked by individuals in attendance on the speaking circuit concerns interest rate directions. The current administration's new appointees to the Federal Reserve and the chairperson would suggest accommodative policy with accelerated cuts in 2026. The unemployment reports, along with core and headline inflation, will need to be closely monitored by the Fed to determine appropriate actions on interest rates. The 800-pound gorilla for 2026 will be the lack of discipline in fiscal spending. Government deficits and debt buildup, along with their impact on financing of Treasury and bonds, pose a significant risk. This risk, in turn, could impact the long end of the yield curve and the cost of money for government, businesses, and households. Now let's look at the U.S. economy. Interest rate policy does not operate in a vacuum. It influences and is influenced by broader economic conditions. The United States economy currently is in a paradox. Wage earners are struggling with inflation, job uncertainty, and confidence in spending and investment, while the stock market is at record highs. However, elevated gold and silver prices suggest uncertainty. In 2026, watch corporate businesses that cut costs and reduce hiring of white-collar workers, such as recent college graduates. In the short run, this increases earnings and stock prices with company buybacks. The question becomes, will it be sustainable in the long run? The probability of a recession increases dramatically with a 20 to 30% long-term correction in the stock market and housing market. This, in turn, could impact consumer spending habits on agricultural products, particularly value-added, livestock, and protein. How to prepare for 2026. As you prepare for 2026 and beyond, consider 5 steps. Step number 1 is developing your goals in writing. Consider business, family, personal, as well as physical, mental, and spiritual goals for a balanced life. Goal setting will be imperative in focusing energy on managing the controllables and managing around the uncontrollables, both in business and life. Second, develop a projected cash flow on either a monthly or quarterly basis. Have an operational plan including production, marketing, finance, and human resources, along with the timing of income, costs, and assumptions that back up your plan. Third, develop financial sensitivity analysis. In the uncertain world that was outlined previously, create guardrails so that objective versus subjective or emotional decision-making can occur. Test various assumptions on production, price, cost, and interest rates. Fourth, formulate an advisory team. This is critical for young, beginning producers where legacy equity or capital is limited. The team could include your lender, crop, or livestock specialist, a peer, or a trusted community member. Number 5, take care of yourself and others. Care for your spouse or your partner, family members, and the community. Yes, success can be measured in dollar signs, but significance in life is giving time and positive energy to others. Never equate your net worth to your self-worth, a lesson learned from the downturn of the 1980s and, of course, the Great Depression. The year ahead will test resilience and adaptability. Markets will fluctuate, policies will shift, and uncertainty will persist. Yet those who plan deliberately, build strong advisory teams, and maintain perspective on what truly matters will be better positioned, not just to weather the challenges of 2026, but to identify and seize opportunities within them. In agriculture, as in life, preparation and perspective makes all the difference.